Origin of the final solution, the Nazi plan to exterminate all the Jewish people, remains uncertain. What is clear is that the genocide of the Jews was the culmination of a decade of Nazi policy under the rule of Adolf Hitler. The final solution was implemented in stages. After the Nazi Party's rise to power, state-enforced racism resulted in anti-Jewish legislation, boycotts, and finally the Night of Broken Glass, all of which aimed to remove the Jews from German society. After the beginning of World War II, anti-Jewish policy evolved into a comprehensive plan to concentrate and eventually annihilate European Jewry. One of the ways that the Germans concentrated the Jewish population was, of course, with concentration camps. In German-occupied areas, the Nazis singled out Jewish laborers for cruel treatment. Jewish laborers were also subjected to humiliating treatment, as when SS men forced religious Jews to submit to having their beards cut. The ghettos served as bases for utilizing Jewish labor, as did forced labor camps for Jews in occupied Poland. In the Lodz ghetto, for example, the Nazis opened 96 factories. The ability to work could save one's life, but most often only temporarily. Jews deemed unproductive by the Nazis were often the first to be shot or deported. Jewish labor, even forced labor, was considered expendable. The extermination of the Jews became the singular priority of the Nazis. Camps such as Auschwitz in Poland and Birkenau in central Germany became administrative centers of huge networks of forced labor camps. In addition to SS-owned enterprises, private German firms such as Messerschmitt, Junkers, Siemens, and IG Farben increasingly relied on forced laborers to boost war production. One of the most infamous of these camps was Auschwitz or Monowitz, which supplied forced laborers to a synthetic rubber camp by IG Farben. Prisoners in all concentration camps were literally worked to death. Near the end of the war, when Germany's military force was collapsing, the Allied armies closed in on Nazi concentration camps. The Soviets approached from the east, and the British, French, and Americans from the west. The Germans began frantically to move prisoners out of the camps near the front and take them to be used as forced laborers inside camps in Germany. Prisoners were first taken by train, then by foot on death marches, as they became known. Prisoners were forced to march long distances in bitter cold with little or no food, water, or rest. Those who could not keep up were shot. The largest death marches took place in the winter of 1944 to 1945, when the Soviet army began its liberation of Poland. 9 days before the Soviets arrived at Auschwitz, the Germans marched tens of thousands of prisoners out of the camp towards Władysław, a town 35 miles away, where they were put on freight trains to other camps. About 1 in 4 died on the way. The Nazis often killed large groups of prisoners before, during, or after the marches. During one march, 7,000 Jewish prisoners, 6,000 of them women, were moved from the camps in the Danzig region, bordered on the north by the Baltic Sea. On the 10-day march, 700 were murdered. Those still alive when the marchers reached the shores of the sea were driven into the water and shot. After the war, some of those responsible for the crimes committed during the Holocaust were brought to trial. Nuremberg, Germany, was chosen as a site for trials that took place in 1945 and 1946. Judges from Allied powers, Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States, presided over the hearing of 22 major Nazi criminals. 12 prominent Nazis were sentenced to death. Most of the defendants admitted to the crimes of which they were accused, although most claimed that they were simply following the orders of higher authority. Those individuals directly involved in the killing received most severe sentences. Other people who played key roles in the Holocaust, including high-level government officials and business executives who used concentration camp inmates as forced laborers, received short prison sentences or no penalty at all.